The grandfather clock in the dining room ticks with metronomic precision, each sound reverberating through my chest as I sit ramrod straight in my childhood home. My fingers trace the edge of the polished walnut table. Muscle memory from 1,000 family dinners. Lorraine sits across from me, her platinum blonde hair pulled into a severe bun that makes her features look stretched and tight. Mason and Chloe flank her like bodyguards, forming a united front I hadn't expected for what should be a routine discussion about my master's program. "Thank you for coming, Harmony." Lorraine's voice is clinical, devoid of warmth. "We have an important matter to discuss regarding your education fund." I nod, optimism blooming despite the tension. "I've already researched the application process. The deadline for fall admission is next month, and that won't be necessary." Lorraine folds her hands on the table. Her French manicure catches the light from the chandelier overhead. "The trust has underperformed. The crypto and tech stock crash wiped out most of it." The words hang in the air. I wait for the punchline, for someone to laugh and tell me they're joking. "What?" The word escapes as barely a whisper. Mason shifts in his chair, his Rolex glinting as he adjusts his cuff. "Market volatility. Nobody could have predicted it." Lorraine nods. "We've salvaged what we could, but there's only enough for one more semester of tuition. The living expenses portion, the $30,000 per year, that's gone." The clock's ticking. Grows louder. My hands turn cold like all the blood has rushed to my core. I stare at the familiar face of the woman who has been my stepmother for 6 years, searching for some hint of regret or compassion, finding only cool detachment. "That's not possible," I whisper. "Dad set up that trust with $1.5 million. My father's face flashes in my memory, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners as he leaned across this very table on my 19th birthday. "Your future is ironclad, sweetheart," he'd promised, sliding the trust document across to me. "This will carry you through your master's, maybe even a doctorate if you want. No matter what happens to me, you'll always be taken care of." Michael West had been meticulous in everything he did. His architectural firm had designed half the notable buildings in downtown Austin, each structure standing as testament to his attention to detail. Our home, this 5-bedroom Tudor, with its soaring ceilings and custom woodwork, was his masterpiece, the physical manifestation of the perfect life he'd built for us before the cancer took my mother. I was 14 when Morgan West played her Steinway for the last time. The music had filled our home like oxygen, her fingers dancing across the keys even as her body failed her. I close my eyes and can still hear her favorite Chopin nocturne. Can still picture Dad sitting beside her on the bench, his hand on her back, supporting her when her strength waned after she died. Something changed in him. He worked longer hours, threw himself into bigger projects. The only time he truly seemed himself was on Friday nights, when my Uncle Arthur would come over with stacks of pizza boxes and his laptop code and pizza night. They called it Arthur. My mom's older brother was the tech genius of the family, always trying to pull Dad into his latest startup venture. "You're too locked into the physical world, Mike," he'd tease, waving a slice of pepperoni in the air. "The future is digital." Their friendship fractured during Mom's final months. Arthur had pushed for experimental treatments, had researched cutting-edge trials and flown in specialists. Dad had wanted to focus on Mom's comfort, on giving her peace in her final days. The argument I overheard 3 weeks before she died still haunts me. "You're giving up on her?" Arthur had shouted. "I'm respecting her wishes," Dad had replied, his voice breaking. "Not everyone wants to die." Hooked up to machines in some clinical trial, Arthur. They never fully reconciled. And then, 5 years later, Dad's private plane went down in a storm over New Mexico. I was 19, suddenly orphaned with only Lorraine, the financial consultant. He'd married 2 years after Mom's death, as my guardian. The will had been specific. Lorraine would act as trustee of my education fund until I turned 28 to ensure financial guidance during Harmony's formative years. I'd never questioned it. Dad knew best. Dad had it all planned out. Dad had been wrong. Where did the money go? My voice shakes now. The reality of my situation sinking in. That fund was supposed to be in conservative investments. Low-risk bonds. Lorraine sighs. Your father, bless him, wasn't as financially savvy as he believed. The initial investment strategy was too conservative to keep pace with inflation. We had to make some adjustments. The word catches in my throat. Financial advisors, she says dismissively. The point is, we did what we could to salvage the situation. But after the tech correction last quarter, she trails off, spreading her hands in a gesture of helplessness. My stomach churns. Can I see the financial statements? The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Chloe, who has been examining her nails with studied boredom, suddenly looks up, interest flickering across her face. Lorraine's expression hardens. I am offended. Your father trusted my financial expertise. It's sad. You don't. Sounds like someone needs to get a real job. Mason scoffs, leaning back in his chair. My cheeks burn. I have a job. I work 20 hours a week at the campus library while maintaining a 3.9 gigapascals a real job, Mason repeats, smirking. Not some student work-study handout. Chloe returns to studying her manicure, clearly bored by my financial crisis. The message couldn't be clearer. I am an outsider here, an inconvenience to be dealt with and dismissed. I push back from the table, the chair, legs scraping against the hardwood floor. I'll need to see those statements. It's my money. You'll need to consult with our attorney if you want to pursue this. Lorraine says coolly, though I wouldn't recommend it. Legal fees will eat up what's left of your fund rather quickly. The implicit threat hangs in the air between us. I stand up, legs unsteady. I'll get my things. Greater orgasm? No one follows me as I climb the stairs to my old bedroom, now a sterile guest room with no trace of my existence. I throw my few belongings into a duffel bag, mind racing $400 in my checking account. Rent due in 2 weeks. Final exams in a month. On my way out, I pass the door to the basement storage room and freeze. Something compels me to look inside. Perhaps a desperate need for connection to my past, to the parents who would never have let this happen. The light flickers on, illuminating the cavernous space. And there, in the center of the room, stands my mother's Steinway, but not as I remember it. The elegant black finish has been obliterated, painted over in a garish neon pink gold letters. Stickers spell out vibes only across the file board. The keys are caked with paint permanently glued together. Oh, that. Chloe's voice comes from behind me. It's for my Instagram aesthetic. Vintage music gear is totally trending. I can't breathe. This piano, the instrument my mother poured her soul into, desecrated, turned into a prop. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about erasing every trace that my family ever existed. I walk out without another word, the front door closing behind me with quiet finality in my truck. Hands shaking on the steering wheel. I finally understand I am completely alone. 2 days later, when no one thought I was back, I positioned myself in the attic. The attic has always been my refuge. Even now, as I methodically fold sweaters into a cardboard box marked Keep, the familiar smell of cedar and old books offers false comfort through the small dormer window. Gray clouds gather over Austin, a perfect mirror to the storm brewing inside me. A floorboard creaks in the hallway outside the door. I freeze, my fingers still gripping the sleeve of a University of Texas sweatshirt. No, Mason, listen. Lorraine's voice drifts through the thin door. That fund was a lifesaver. My new venture capital firm couldn't have launched without that $700,000 in seed capital. My lungs stopped working. The sweatshirt slips from my grasp. But what if she figures it out? Mason's voice sounds tinny, likely on speakerphone. She's not exactly stupid. She'll never know. Lorraine's voice drops lower, forcing me to inch closer to the door. By the time she's 28, it'll all be settled. Her father was so naive to think I'd let that money just sit there for her. A cold clarity washes over me, replacing the shock that had numbed my brain for the past hour without conscious thought. My fingers find my phone in my pocket. I tap the record button, capturing the tail end of their conversation. The crypto story was a nice touch. Mason chuckles. People believe what they want to believe. Lorraine replies. Speaking of which, I need to find that Steinway paperwork, if we can list it as an asset. Their voices fade down the hallway, but the recording remains 30s of undeniable truth. My father's widow didn't just mismanage my trust fund. She stole it in the bathroom. I splashed cold water on my face and stare at the stranger in the mirror. She looks like me, but her eyes hold something I've never seen before. A hardness that wasn't there this morning. My hands don't shake anymore. The recording changes everything. Downstairs, I hear Chloe's high-pitched laugh as she FaceTimes someone in the kitchen. Yeah, totally redid it. The piano is like so aesthetic now. Had to scrape some of the black stuff off first. I check my bank account on my phone, $417.32. The number glares back at me, suddenly pathetic in its inadequacy. Rent at my campus apartment is due in 12 days. Fund $200 plus utilities plus food. This isn't just about losing my master's program. This is about survival. I stuffed the last of my clothes into the box, then slide it back under the eaves where it will remain likely forgotten. All I take is my backpack with my laptop, textbooks, and the clothes I'm wearing. My truck keys feel unusually heavy in my pocket as I creep down the back stairs. No dramatic goodbye. No confrontation, not yet. The old Ford Ranger in the driveway has seen better days. The blue paint is faded to a dull gray in places, and the heater works only when it wants to. But it's mine. Paid off 2 summers ago with waitressing tips. Lorraine's voice echoes in my head as I turn the key. That fund was a lifesaver. No, I think as the engine rumbles to life, I'm the one who needs saving now. I drive without direction at first, numb hands gripping the steering wheel. Pride keeps me from calling my friends. What would I say? That my stepmother embezzled my inheritance. That I've been effectively disowned. The humiliation burns hotter than the anger. Evening falls and reality sets in. I need a place to sleep. The Planet Fitness parking lot is well lit and busy enough to feel safe inside. I count out $10 bills from my wallet. My new monthly rent for shower access. The clerk doesn't look up as he slides the membership card across the counter. Over 7? I ask. He nods, still staring at his phone. Except holidays. Back in the truck, I rearrange what little I have. The passenger seat reclines, partially creating an uncomfortable but functional bed when combined with my jacket as a pillow. Tomorrow, I'll figure out the next step. Tonight, I just need to survive. Rain starts to patter against the windshield as I try to sleep. I move the truck to a corner of a Walmart parking lot where other vehicles are stationed for the night. A makeshift community of the displaced. By morning, my neck aches and my stomach growls. Campus buildings open at 7. I can study there, use their Wi-Fi, stay warm during the day. I need a job. Multiple jobs. My phone buzzes. A calendar reminder for my shift at the library. The campus job that pays just above minimum wage. Not nearly enough now. I call Olivia, my roommate from freshman year. We still get coffee occasionally, but haven't been close since she moved off campus. Hey, stranger. Her voice is bright, carefree. Hey, Liv. I force normalcy into my tone. Quick favor. There's some black mold in my place, and I need somewhere to send mail for a while. Could I use your address? Mold? That's awful. I picture her wrinkling her nose. Of course you can. Do you need a place to crash too? The offer tempts me, but shame wins out. No, I'm staying with family for now. Just need a mailing address, sure thing. You know where I live, right? The Blue Complex on Riverside. I jot down the exact address, thank her, and hang up before she can ask more questions. One small victory. The campus coffee shop has a help wanted sign in the window. The manager looks exhausted when I walk in. Can you start tomorrow for a M shift? Jenna just quit. I nod, not trusting my voice. Great. $8 an hour plus tips. Mostly grad students at that hour. They tip decent. 4 a.m. I calculate the distance from the Walmart parking lot to campus about 2 miles. Walking would save gas by sunset. I've secured a second job tutoring online and a weekend waitressing gig at a diner. 3 jobs, no home and finals in 4 weeks. My first paycheck comes a week later. $350 after taxes. I stare at it like it's a foreign object. This piece of paper that now stands between me and hunger. My feet are blistered from walking to save gas. My back aches from sleeping in the truck. But the check means I can eat something besides coffee shop leftovers. As I fold the check into my wallet beside the recording of Lorraine's Betrayal, something shifts inside me. This is no longer just about survival. It's about justice. And someday, when I have more than 4 17-hour $30 in my checking account, Lorraine will learn what it means to steal from a West. But first, I need to make it through the night. The alarm on my phone jangles at 3:15 a.m., jolting me from a fitful sleep for a split second. I forget where I am. Then reality crashes back. The cramped truck cab. The parking lot. The bone-deep exhaustion. I fumble with stiff fingers to silence the alarm before any security guard notices the woman living in her pickup at the back of the Walmart lot. 4 months. 4 months since I walked out of my childhood home. Since Lorraine's smug face as she told me my education fund had underperformed. 4 months of this new life, this daily grind that has worn me down to something I barely recognize. My routine has the desperate precision of survival. By 3:45, I'm in the coffee shop kitchen, tying my green apron with hands raw from cheap soap and winter air. The morning shift manager, Dennis, barely looks up as I clock in. He doesn't know I've been sleeping in my truck. Nobody does except Olivia, who thinks I'm staying with a friend with mold problems. And even Olivia only knows I need a mailing address. Morning rush starts early today, Dennis mutters, already firing up the second espresso machine. Those tech conferences bring in the caffeine addicts at dawn. I nod and start the prep work, muscles moving automatically. My body remembers what to do, even when my mind is foggy with exhaustion. Steam burns have become so common on my wrists that I've stopped noticing them. The morning passes in a blur of paper cups and forced smiles. By 9:30, I've clocked out and I'm driving across town to the public library, where I log into my laptop for 3 hours of online tutoring sessions. College students willing to pay $20 an hour to have someone explain basic economics concepts to them. The irony isn't lost on me explaining financial principles while my own life has been financially destroyed. Between tutoring sessions, I study for my final exams. The library is warm, at least. Sometimes I doze off between paragraphs, jerking awake with a racing heart, certain everyone can see my shame. At 2 p.m., I retreat to the library bathroom to change into my waitress uniform for the diner. Black pants, white shirt. The name tag that reads Harmony in cheery script. I stare at my reflection in the smudged mirror. Hollow cheeks, dull eyes with dark smudges beneath them. My collarbones jut out sharply. I've lost 15 pounds since that day in the dining room. The night shift at Dottie's Diner stretches from 6 p.m. to midnight. My feet throb in cheap, non-slip shoes as I carry plates of meatloaf and mashed potatoes to truckers and late-night college students. The smell of food makes my stomach clench, but I can't afford to eat here. I've learned to live on the mistakes. The burger with the wrong cheese, the pancakes made when the customer changed their mind. The cook. Jerry sometimes deliberately messes up an order near closing time, sliding the plate to me with a gruff "better not waste it." After midnight, I drive back to my current home, a different parking lot each night, rotating between Walmart, Home Depot, and a 24-hour grocery store on the edge of town. I've learned which security guards look the other way, which lots have the fewest overnight patrols. The knock on my window comes at least twice a week. Sometimes it's security, sometimes police. I've perfected my story. Just resting before I drive home. Long shift. I keep my student ID visible. Most of them let me be. Some tell me to move along. The fear never leaves. It sits in my chest like a cold, hard stone. Fear of being found out. Fear of failing my finals. Fear of the future. Stretching endlessly, like this. Working 3 jobs and sleeping in a truck. The money from my father's trust fund. Sitting in Lorraine's venture capital firm. While I slowly waste away. Tonight, rain drums against the roof of my truck. The temperature has been dropping steadily all week. The local news warned of an unusual cold front moving through Texas. I curl deeper into my sleeping bag, pulling my coat over that. The truck's heater hasn't worked properly since last month, and I can't afford to fix it. I wake up shivering, not the normal kind of cold, but violent tremors that shake my entire body. My head throbs when I press my palm to my forehead. The skin burns against my icy hand. Outside, something white falls from the sky. Snow in Austin. The weatherman called it a freak storm system, a once-in-a-decade event. For everyone else, it's an inconvenience or a novelty for me. It might be a death sentence. I fumble for my phone. The battery reads 17%. My breath forms clouds in the air. The shivering won't stop. This is rock bottom. Curled in the back of a pickup truck during a snowstorm. Burning with fever. With no one who knows where I am. No one who would miss me. Until I failed to show up for the morning shift. And even then, Dennis would just be annoyed at having to find coverage. I think about my mother playing her Steinway. My father's hand on my shoulder as he promised my future was secure. I think about Lorraine's cold eyes across the dining table and the neon pink monstrosity they made of my mother's piano. The rage that usually warms me has been replaced by a terrifying numbness. My thoughts move slowly, like they're wading through molasses. This is bad. This is really bad. With shaking fingers, I press Olivia's contact. The phone rings 3 times before her sleepy voice answers, "Harmony." It's like 4 in the morning. My teeth chatter so hard I can barely form words. I'm really sick. I'm in my truck. A pause, then suddenly alert your truck. Wait, what? Where are you? Parking lot, Home Depot on Riverside. You're sleeping in your truck. What the Harmony? I'm coming right now. Stay on the phone. I can hear her moving, the rustle of clothing, keys jingling. Can't phone dying. Then text me your exact location. I'll find you. Don't hang up until you absolutely have to. I text her the location, pin and curl deeper into my sleeping bag. The shivering has become so violent it's almost like convulsions. It takes Olivia 23 minutes to find me. Her headlights sweep across my fogged windows, and then she's pounding on the door, her face a mask of shock and concern in the glow of her phone flashlight. Jesus Christ, Harmony! She yanks open the door, and the blast of cold air makes me gasp. Her warm hand touches my face, and she recoils. You're burning up. How long have you been living in your truck? For months, I whisper. Her face crumples. Why didn't you tell me, ashamed? Olivia helps me into her car. Cranks the heat to maximum. I'm taking you to my place. My roommates will just have to deal. At her apartment, she half carries me inside. I'm barely conscious by this point. Aware only of warmth, blessed warmth, and Olivia's voice explaining to someone. She's my cousin. Family emergency. She's really sick. I wake up on a couch under 3 blankets. Olivia sits beside me, pressing a cold cloth to my forehead. Your fever broke an hour ago. It was scary. Hi, Harmony. I almost took you to the ER. Can't afford it, I mumble. Yeah, I figured. Her voice is gentle but firm. So now you're going to tell me everything, and I mean everything. The story spills out of me, Lorraine. The trust fund, the phone recording, the homelessness with each word. Something shifts inside me. The telling feels like lancing a wound. Painful but necessary. When I finish, Olivia's eyes glitter with angry tears. You're staying here until we figure something out. Period. Your roommates can deal with it. Or I'll find a new place. But you're not going back to that truck, Harmony. You could have died out there. I know she's right. The fever and the snowstorm would have been a deadly combination. But more than that, I know something has fundamentally changed inside me. The fear isn't gone, but it's different now. I've survived the worst. I've hit bottom and I'm still breathing. 2 days later, I'm well enough to return to my jobs, but I move my few possessions to Olivia's couch. I upload the phone recording to 3 different cloud storage services. I start a journal documenting every interaction with Lorraine since my father's death. The homelessness, the fever, the rescue, they forged something new and hard within me. I don't just want to survive anymore. I want justice. A week passes. I'm on the overnight shift at Daddy's Diner, still pale from the fever, but steady on my feet. The bell above the door jingles at 3 a.m. I look up from wiping down the counter, ready to greet another truck driver or insomniac college student. A man in an impeccably tailored suit stands in the doorway, looking wildly out of place among the vinyl booths and checkered floor. He scans the nearly empty diner, his gaze landing on me with an almost physical impact. His eyes widen with recognition and shock. Harmony, he says, his voice cracking slightly. Is that you? My heart stops. It's Uncle Arthur, my mother's brother, the man who disappeared from my life after her death. And suddenly I know that everything is about to change. Uncle Arthur's face. Blanche is under the harsh fluorescent lights of the diner, his fingers adorned with a sleek titanium watch that probably costs more than my truck, gripped the edge of the laminate counter. My God, Harmony, he whispers, eyes scanning my face lingering on the hollows beneath my cheekbones. I've been looking for you for weeks. Your phone's disconnected. Your apartment vacant. I thought. His voice trails off. The unspoken word hangs between us dead. I wipe my hands on my stained apron, attempting to process his sudden appearance. Arthur Vance, tech millionaire, Morgan West's big brother, standing in a 24-hour diner at 3 in the morning. The universe has a strange sense of timing. Sorry about the phone, I manage. Couldn't afford the bill. Arthur's gaze sweeps over my greasy uniform, the dark circles under my eyes. His jaw tightens. He glances at my manager, who hovers near the kitchen, eyeing us suspiciously. "When does your shift end?" he asks. 5, I reply. "I'm waiting," he says simply, sliding into a booth. "And I want a coffee. Black." The next 2 hours crawl by. I drop 3 plates and mishandle 2 orders. Hyper aware of Arthur's presence, his eyes tracking me across the diner. When my replacement arrives, I hang my apron and grab my backpack from the staff room. Arthur stands, leaving a $100 bill under his coffee cup. "My car's outside," he says. The gleaming Tesla looks alien in the diner parking lot next to my battered Ford Ranger. I hesitate, hand on my truck door. "Leave it," Arthur says. "We'll come back for it." The drive is silent. Austin streets are empty at this hour, the traffic lights cycling through their colors for no one. Arthur navigates downtown, eventually pulling up to the grand limestone facade of the Driscoll Hotel. A valet appears instantly. "You're staying here?" I ask unnecessarily. Of course he is. The Driscoll, where rooms start at $500 a night. As he explains, referring to the tech conference giving a keynote tomorrow or today, I suppose his suite swallows me whole. 2 stories of old-world luxury with polished wood, leather furniture, and windows overlooking the city. I've been surviving in. I stand awkwardly in the entryway, suddenly conscious of my stale diner smell, my unwashed hair. "Showers through there," Arthur points. I'll order room service. The bathroom is bigger than the apartment I lost. I stand under the scalding water until my skin turns pink, washing away months of truck stop sponge baths. When I emerge in one of the hotel's plush robes, a feast awaits on the dining table. Eggs, bacon, pancakes. Fruit, orange juice, coffee, enough for 6 people. "Sit," Arthur commands. Pouring coffee? My hands tremble as I reach for a piece of toast. The first bite nearly makes me cry. Real food. Not leftover diner scraps or dollar menu. Burgers. "You're going to tell me everything Arthur says." Not a question, a requirement. Start with why my niece is working graveyard shifts and looking like she's been through hell. So I tell him everything spills out. The meeting with Lorraine, the crypto excuse, the trust's collapse, the neon pink piano. My voice catches when I describe it. She painted Mom Steinway. The pain still catches me off guard. Neon pink for Instagram. Arthur's knuckles turn white around his coffee cup, but he doesn't interrupt. I tell him about the recording. The $700,000 Lorraine stole about my truck. Planet Fitness showers, Walmart parking lots for months of homelessness, the snowstorm, the fever that nearly killed me. His reaction isn't what I expect. No shouting, no dramatic table pounding. Instead, a stillness settles over him, the kind of quiet that precedes natural disasters. "You nearly died," he says finally, his voice flat in a parking lot while that woman lived in your father's house. "Spending your money?" I nod, a lump forming in my throat. And now he asks, 3 jobs. Saving what I can. I have an exam next week, and no. Arthur sets down his cup. "Now, what do you want to happen now?" The question stuns me. What do I want? For months, I've thought only about survival, about making it through each day. Want feels like a luxury I can't afford. I want. My voice falters. Then the image of the pink piano flashes in my mind, and something hardens inside me. I want what's mine. I want her to pay for what she did. Arthur nods, pulling out his phone. "Roy, it's Arthur. I need you on the first flight to Austin. Family emergency?" He hangs up. Turns back to me. "She will fight back, you know. She will say you're lying, that you're unstable. Are you ready for that?" I think about my mother's piano. The keys fused together with garish paint. About sleeping in my truck while Lorraine sat in my childhood home. About the fever that racked my body while she invested my stolen money. I say the words tasting like iron. Find everything. 24 hours later, Arthur's lawyer, Mr. Walker, arrives. Tall and lean with silver hair, he exudes the quiet confidence of someone who charges $1,000 an hour. He spreads documents across the hotel, sweeps dining table, methodically building a case will serve her with audit papers today, he explains. Emergency petition for an accounting of the trust. The recording gives us grounds. I nod, watching him work. Arthur paces behind him, making calls, pulling strings I didn't know existed. How will she react? I ask. Mr. Walker looks up, his expression grim like a cornered animal with everything she's got. He's right. Within hours, Lorraine's response arrives via courier. Mr. Walker scans the document. His eyebrows rising slightly creative, he murmurs. She's threatening to file a restraining order against Arthur on your behalf, claiming harassment and undue influence. Says you're emotionally unstable, and Arthur is preying on your grief to steal the trust. The accusation hits me like a physical blow. That's ridiculous. It's smart, Mr. Walker corrects. She's establishing a narrative. Fortunately, he taps his tablet. I've already filed for an emergency court order to freeze the trust. Judge Hernandez owes me a favor. The next 48 hours blur into a frenzy of legal maneuvers. I sleep on the sweet sofa, afraid to leave, as if this lifeline might vanish. Arthur works remotely, canceling his appearance. Mr. Walker disappears into meetings with bankers, auditors, forensic accountants. When he returns on the third day, his thin lips curve upward. The closest thing to a smile I've seen from him, we've got it, he announces, opening his briefcase. The audit found the $700,000 transfer, plus another $150,000 we didn't know about. Total of $850,000. He lays out diagrams showing how the money flowed through 3 shell companies before landing in Lorraine's new venture capital fund. She wasn't even particularly clever about it, Mr. Walker says. Just counted on you, never finding out. Arthur examines the documents. What's her next play? Already happening, Mr. Walker replies, producing another file. Her team just provided these documents, supposedly authorizing the high-risk investments. He slides a paper toward me. Is this your signature? I study the document. A formal letter authorizing Lorraine to invest trust funds in emerging technology ventures at her discretion. At the bottom sits what's supposed to be my signature? No, I say, my blood turning cold. I've never seen this in my life. Mr. Walker's smile grows wider, showing teeth for the first time. We've got her. This just went from civil fraud to multiple criminal felonies. Forgery. He closes the file with a snap. She's done. Arthur places a hand on my shoulder. You understand what this means? She's going to jail, Harmony, not just paying back your money. Jail? I stare at the forged document, imagining Lorraine practicing my signature, calculating how to steal my future. For months, I've been consumed by survival, by fear. Now something else rises in its place. A clean, sharp rage that feels almost like relief. Good, I say. 3 days later, the conference room at Walker and Associates feels like a battleground disguised as a mahogany sanctuary. I sit stiffly in a leather chair that probably costs more than every possession I currently own across the gleaming table. Lorraine adjusts her cream silk blouse, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she leans toward her attorney. Mason slouches beside her, thumbing through his phone with performative boredom. My palms sweat against my thighs. The weight of the past 4 months. The truck, the fever, the crushing fear presses down on me. Uncle Arthur's hand finds my shoulder, squeezes once, a silent reminder I am no longer alone. Let's begin. Mr. Walker's voice cuts through the tension. At 72, he has the careful precision of a surgeon and the voice of someone who spent decades commanding courtrooms. Lorraine's attorney speaks first. A man with wire-rimmed glasses and a voice like honeyed steel. My client is prepared to discuss this matter today out of courtesy. But we must note for the record our intention to countersued for defamation and emotional distress. His gaze shifts to me. Miss West is clearly a troubled young woman who has fabricated these allegations. My heart thuds harder. 4 months ago, these words would have shattered me. Lorraine leans forward, her features arranged in a mask of maternal concern. Harmony, sweetheart. I understand how difficult these past months have been for you, but these accusations... She shakes her head, disappointed. Your father entrusted me with your financial welfare, and I've only ever acted in your best interest. The audacity steals my breath. In fact, she continues, her voice dropping to a confidential tone, Harmony repeatedly begged me to make riskier investments. She wanted to grow the fund faster. I advised against it, but she was adamant. The lie blooms between us like a poisonous flower. I don't move. Don't blink. Don't breathe. Mason smirks, checking his Rolex. Can we wrap this up? Some of us have actual businesses to run. Mr. Walker remains unruffled. He places a black leather binder on the table and slides it toward Lorraine's attorney. Before we proceed further, I believe you should review this information. His tone is conversational, almost friendly. I've organized it for your convenience. Lorraine's attorney frowns but opens the binder. Mr. Walker doesn't address Lorraine or Mason. Instead, he speaks directly to their lawyer as if they're simply not important enough to warrant his attention. Tab 1 contains the complete audit trail of the trust established by Michael West. You'll note the systematic withdrawal of funds totaling $850,000 over a 20-month period. The attorney flips through the pages, his expression unchanging, professional, unreadable. Tab 2 documents the formation of 3 shell companies: Vanguard Holdings, Premier Investment Group, and Sunbelt Enterprises, all signed by Lorraine West as primary officer. A muscle twitches in Lorraine's jaw. Her fingers drum silently against the polished wood. Tab 3 contains the incorporation papers for Stratosphere Venture Capital. You'll note the primary capitalization source matches dollar for dollar. The funds extracted from Harmony's trust. The attorney's professional mask slips for just a heartbeat. His eyes dart to Lorraine, then back to the binder. Tab 4 is perhaps the most illuminating. Mr. Walker nods to me. I place my phone on the table. My hands don't shake anymore. I press play. Lorraine's voice fills the silence. That fund was a lifesaver. My new venture capital firm couldn't have launched without that $700,000 in seed capital. She'll never know. By the time she's 28, it'll all be settled. Her father was so naive to think I'd let that money just sit there for her. Lorraine's face drains of color, her aristocratic features hardening into marble. Mason's phone slips from his fingers, clattering against the table. And finally, tab 5. Mr. Walker's voice remains mild, almost bored. A comprehensive analysis from Margaret Daniels, the leading forensic handwriting examiner in the country. She confirms with 100% certainty that Harmony's signature was forged on all authorization documents for the high-risk investments you claim she begged for. The conference room falls silent. Lorraine's attorney slowly closes the binder and slides it away from himself, as if distancing himself from something radioactive. He leans toward her, whispers urgently in her ear. For the first time, I see her composure crack. The polished veneer of the financial expert, the concerned stepmother, the grieving widow, all of it gone. What remains is something raw and ugly. Mr. Walker slides a document across the table. Our terms are straightforward. Full restitution of the $850,000 plus $500,000 in punitive damages. You will liquidate your venture fund and sell the house. Harmony retains all rights to her father's intellectual property and personal effects. Lorraine's face contorts. You'll sign that, or you'll what? Mr. Walker interrupts, his voice still calm. You'll sign, or this binder goes to the district attorney, who is already expecting my call. Forgery, embezzlement, criminal breach of fiduciary duty. You'll be in a cell by dinner. Mason's smugness evaporates. Mom. She silences him with a glare. Picks up the pen with fingers trembling. Not with fear, but with rage. She signs her name with savage strokes, as if she could stab through the paper as she drops the pen. Mr. Walker adds, "Oh, and the DA is getting the file anyway." Her head snaps up. What? But we settled. You settled the civil complaint? My client isn't pressing criminal charges. Mr. Walker smiles thinly. The state of Texas is. They take a rather dim view of trustees who defraud their beneficiaries. The realization hits her like a physical blow. Her perfectly lined lips part. But no sound emerges. 18 months, Arthur says quietly. His first words of the meeting. Minimum sentence for these crimes in Texas. That's if you cooperate fully. I stand surprising even myself with how steady my legs feel. For months I've imagined this moment. Lorraine's downfall. My vindication. I expected to feel triumph. Maybe even joy. Instead, there's something quieter. A settling of accounts, a weightlifting. The piano. I say my voice sounds strange to my own ears. Steady adult. My mother's Steinway. I want it restored. Every trace of that pink paint removed. Lorraine's eyes narrow. A last flash of defiance. It'll cost thousands. Yes, I agree it will. I walk out without looking back, the sound of her fury fading with every step in the hallway. Sunlight streams through tall windows. I pause, let the warmth touch my face. For the first time in months. I take a deep breath without pain. The war is over. I have survived. Morning sunlight spills through the bay windows of my Palo Alto apartment, casting golden rectangles across the hardwood floor. 6 months since the settlement. And I still marvel at how different my life looks now. The cramped truck, cab, and 24-hour Walmart parking lots feel like scenes from someone else's story. I run my fingers along the edge of my digital piano, a modest Yamaha that doesn't compare to Mom's Steinway. But when I play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, her favorite, something of her returns to me. The notes flow from muscle memory from a place deeper than conscious thought. The doorbell interrupts mid-phrase. Arthur stands outside with a leather portfolio tucked under his arm. Punctual as always. Ready for our quarterly review? His eyes crinkle at the corners, reminding me of Dad. Coffee first. I wave him toward the kitchen. I made that dark roast you like. While he pours, I gather my notes. The Stanford acceptance letter sits atop the pile. Masters in nonprofit management classes start next week. Arthur settles at my small dining table, spreading financial statements between us. Unlike the tense meeting with Lorraine last year, this feels collaborative, even comfortable. The municipal bonds yielded better than expected. He points to a highlighted section. What do you think about diversifying into some international funds? I study the prospectus. He slides toward me. What's the political stability in these regions? And the fee structure seems high. Arthur's eyebrows lift slightly. Good questions. The management expenses eat about 1.8% annually, which is steep. Let me find alternatives. The conversation continues this way. Him proposing me questioning. Both of us deciding together. No blind trust, no signatures without understanding the fatal flaw that nearly destroyed me, now transformed into its opposite, informed vigilance. Later, I drive to Dr. Reed's office for our monthly session. The cognitive behavioral therapy techniques have helped me process the trauma, though I still flinch at certain triggers. The smell of expensive perfume like Lorraine's, the sound of a grandfather clock ticking. How are the nightmares? Dr. Reed asks after I settle into her soft leather chair, down to maybe once a week. I twist a tissue between my fingers. Last night I dreamed about the piano again, but this time I was playing it even with the pink paint. She nods. That's progress. You're reclaiming what was taken. On my drive home, I make a quick detour to FedEx, sending an overnight package to Austin. Inside a first-class plane ticket for Olivia to visit San Francisco next weekend. The note reads simply 4 nights in a real bed. No lies about mold, just friendship, H. The final piece falls into place 3 weeks later. I'm in my apartment spreadsheet scattered across the coffee table. When Arthur calls, it's official. He says, the Morgan West Foundation has its 501c3 status. The $500,000 in punitive damages is fully transferred to the foundation account. A wave of something, closure perhaps or purpose, washes over me. It's really happening. Your mother would be proud. Harmony? Your father? 2, 3 years pass in a blink. I stand at a podium in the Stanford Alumni Center ballroom, facing 200 guests at our foundation's first major fundraiser. The room buzzes with energy and checkbooks. $50,000 already pledged tonight. In the front row, Arthur beams. Beside him sits Olivia, who flew in from Austin, where she now manages our Texas grant program. They both weathered the storm with me, now witnesses to what rose from those ruins. The Morgan West Foundation isn't just about money. I tell the crowd, my voice steady. It's about what happens when financial crisis collides with family betrayal. Last year, we helped 38 college students facing homelessness after family breakdowns. We provided emergency housing grants, legal assistance, and trauma counseling. I scan the familiar and unfamiliar faces. Resilience isn't just about surviving what's thrown at you. It's about knowing you are worth rescuing, and then it's about turning around and building a sanctuary for the next person in line. The applause washes over me like sunlight through bay windows. I am 28 now, fully in control of my inheritance, my education completed. But more importantly, I've built something my parents never could have imagined. A legacy born from loss, a sanctuary forged from betrayal. And in this moment, I am certain. I am my mother's daughter. I am my father's child. But mostly, finally, I am entirely my own. Subscribe.